probably one of the genre roles that we all know you so well for is, of course, the part of Tori in Battlestar Galactica. And, okay, spoiler alert for anyone who's not watched it. Okay, volume down. We discover that Tori is, in fact, a Cylon, and she decides to embrace her Cylon qualities, or her Cylonness.
Yeah, yeah.
So, can you talk to me as an actor going through that process of revelation and how you adjusted your performance to discovering she's a Cylon and explaining that to us, the audience, what you demonstrated to us so brilliantly?
Thank you. It was, first of all, just very exciting, and as fellow artists, what a plot twist! What a wonderful change that you have to grapple with as a human being, and or as it turns out, as a robot who thinks it's a human being. But what I loved so much about that metaphor, as I started to explore what that meant for me, was the idea that we are our own worst enemy. The thing that I had spent my entire life fighting against was actually me. And so, the decision where the script was going, that, she really embraces it. Well, what did that mean? It was, first of all, just this discovery of like, oh my God, like, this is fake. Like, what is this that I have thought was real my whole life? That's interesting. Also from a spiritual perspective of, we are not the body. Well, what am I then? So I thought about that a lot. I thought about nature a great deal and how it doesn't judge. And I felt that that's how she made that transition into not judging herself much quicker than the other people, to go, okay, this is my nature, this is who I am. And sort of gave her this sense of like, we've all felt like we didn't belong. We've all, and maybe she had that more where she felt like something didn't quite line up. And finally, truth is a powerful thing. The moment, I'll use the breakup example again, the moment that, even as painful as it is to discover that the person that you love is not a good fit for you, that you're just not working out, the moment you admit that truth, there's a relaxation in the body. There's a sigh of relief. Just truth is liberating. And so that's where I went with her, where I could just go, oh, now it all makes sense. All these things that weren't quite lining up, it all makes sense now. Now, she, of course, went in a direction that I wasn't expecting.
But I love your take on that. It's really interesting, and it's always interesting to know what artists' choices are. And I really resonate with the choices that you made there. And it was a lovely performance that I thoroughly enjoyed following your journey.
Well, thank you. This might be the first time I'm saying this publicly, honestly, in any extended fashion. But there was always a part of me that, as the character started to get more villainous in the story, that was kind of dying inside. It's like, okay, here we have a cast. We have a story that really is about the gray area, that really shows so beautifully that the people that we think are the enemies, the terrorists, that they're no different than us. I loved that about the story, that it wouldn't allow you to point the finger, because you would start off pointing the finger, that's the bad guy. And then the bad guy is full of humanity, and you start to care for them. And And I loved that so much about this show, and I still do, and it's absolutely brilliant. But the part of me that was just kind of dying inside was that this person had to be the one that had, I think, one of the most one-dimensional and villainous roles in that show that was so full of gray. That really hurt and was not what I wanted to be representing as one of the, at that time, very few Indian actresses on screen. And there's still very few of us, but back then it was even fewer. And I never spoke up. And, you know, I know a lot of people of color who are in the film and television business who absolutely for the first half of their careers, or maybe all of them, like, were just like, thank you for giving me a job, and just so grateful to be working and part of something great, that it never even occurred to me that I could have said, hey, Ron, have you thought about the fact that it's this person, this face, that's telling this story? You know, like, we're in a position in this industry where, as storytellers, my God, we can change the mindsets of thousands of hundreds of thousands of people who watch these shows. We can plant seeds. Star Trek is all about planting seeds for a better future. And it breaks my heart that that's the way things went. And, you know, and I'm not criticizing the show. You know, I never spoke up, and I'm sure none of the writers even thought about it. But isn't that something that they probably didn't even think of it?
Yeah.
When people who look like me get pointed at as terrorists, when I, you know, have a history of, when I cross the border with my mom and dad, it doesn't go as quickly as white people crossing the border. Like, it just doesn't. So I feel like, you know, I'm so grateful for the conversations that are happening now. And I'll tell you, the next time I'm on a show and I feel like things are going that way, whether it's about me or another character, I'm going to speak up. And I think we're all ready to have these conversations and, you know, take a certain amount of responsibility and a pride, I think, in what we can actually tell. Because, like, wouldn't it have been great if it was like Sam Anders who ended up pushing Callie out the airlock? Like, talk about a plot twist.
It's usually more interesting that the people who we think are sweet are the ones that turn out to be villainous. It's just so much more interesting. Speaking as someone who's spent her life playing good people.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
James gave me the opportunity to play someone who wasn't, and it was such a relief. And I get bored with my own, oh, you've got a sweet smile, so we'll just put you in the sweet person category. Okay, so I'm not going to get to act the villain because I'm doing that. And then, as you're experiencing, you're always going to be asked to act the villain when you have at least as sweet a smile as mine, but the difference is this.
And we have to remember that we have voices and we can speak up to those cliches and, you know, change the world for the better through storytelling. Why not?
This is something, I was going to ask you this later, but I'll ask you it now. So you and I did a film, When the Train Stops, which is still not out yet. It's been playing on the festival circuit, but we're very proud of it, and I love working with you on it, and you did such an amazing job in it. And I cast you in a role in that is quite different from what you're talking about. In the film, I know nobody's seen it yet, but it is, you play a sheriff's deputy who's very soft-hearted, very caring, and that is such, like I said, like you were saying, that's in stark contrast to a lot of the roles in which you've been cast, because you've, you know, like going all the way back to John Doe, you play the computer geek, or you play the hard-edged kind of mean person. And yeah, it feels like it is a bit of typecasting as for you as a person of color. And I don't know. I don't know how you overcome that, but I guess you kind of already answered that in the sense that you just speak up. I guess that's what you have to do, right?
I think so. And I think, I was listening to a SAG-AFTRA just have this wonderful talk about race and storytelling, and Michelle Hurd was there, who plays Raffi in Picard, and she was talking about also, she and I are kind of in a similar category. She's a strong woman of color, and so she had a long history of playing. I don't think necessarily bad people, but just like, if you're a strong woman, then you get like into this tough thing.
Yeah.
And now she's playing a strong, open-hearted woman. And I'm like, yeah, let's see more of that, shall we? Like, and I think, Wonder Woman was wonderful in that regard, because we have had a tendency for women in general to take anybody who has a natural strength to them and kind of make them masculine in some way. And it's like, no, we're still women. And it's okay for a woman to be strong and loving. And in fact, isn't that the goal for every human, to be strong and loving? Like, and I get it. You got to tell stories. You got to have like the antagonist. You got to have all those things there. But like, let's just make them white dudes for a while. We can do that for 50 years and things would still not even out.
I mean, it's so funny because, before I knew you, I had seen you in all of these shows, and your personality is so different from that. You know what I mean? It's like, of all people to just be kind of the mean, cold person that is so opposite of who you are,
yeah.
And
thank you for being like the person who cast both of us, two actresses, in roles that defied the stereotypes we've played. Oh my God, it was such a relief to play that role. So thank you.
Absolutely.
And I hope everybody gets to see it, because it is a really fun little short with a lot of heart.
So can you tell us about the latest TV series that you're doing, Limetown, with Jessica Biel and Stanley Tucci?
So I don't know if we're going to come back. I shot it last year, so the first season is out, and it was up on Facebook Watch. But I believe that platform is no longer, or on its way out or something. So I don't know if we're going to go for a second season or not, but it's a great show. I'm still a little stereotypy, over there playing an FBI agent. The role, unfortunately, got pretty cut down in the editing and the trying to put the show together. But what I want to share about that show is what an incredible team it was to work with. Jessica Biel is so lovely. Our director, our DOP were women, producers, women, a lot of women. And I feel like that has something to do with the fact that it was the most zen set I have ever worked on in my life. Now, I loved working on Battlestar Galactica. That is the pinnacle of my career. I love those people to the moon and back. And the kind of work and the work atmosphere that we had was incredible. But there was a different energy that was on this show that is kind of mind-boggling. There's literally no drama on the set, ever. It was kind, it was calm, everybody was supported, everybody was valued. It was just so powerful to see what's possible. And, a lot of the crew were like, what? It could be like this, like, I think some of the ADs that were on that show, their lives are permanently changed. They're like, okay, when I'm going to direct my show, taking some notes from this director on how to do things and taking some notes from these producers. You know, it was just amazing. And I think the industry in general is moving more and more towards, this is not a place where egos are okay. You know, there's sort of been a long history of that in the film industry, where it's okay to be a diva, or whatever the male version of that is. You know what? Maybe we'll just call guys divas from now on, because I hate that.
There definitely needs to be a guy diva word, and I don't know it, which says a lot about the world, really, I think.
It really does, because, man, every set that I've been on, the biggest divas are the men, because women have to be so careful if they speak up about anything, because then they'll get that label. And so we've got to be incredibly graceful. And yeah, anyway.
When you're on a set or somebody describes another female actor to me and says they're very difficult, I never take it the first time anyone says it, because most of the time it means they just spoke up about something, and immediately there is that label. So how wonderful to hear.
Yeah,
that really heartens me.
Oh, good. Yeah, it was really incredible.
It was a really great show. I did enjoy it. And you're right, you weren't in it enough. But
like, what did you like about the show? And I don't know, did any of that sense of like awesome feminism that I experienced behind the scenes, did any of that come through in the storytelling, or?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'd have to go back and watch it again, thinking about that specifically. I mean, I thought it was really good storytelling. I thought it was, I thought the story was compelling and the direction was excellent. So I didn't know how much behind the scenes were women, but knowing that, it makes sense. It was very well done.
And the two guys who created the show were also absolutely wonderful. All the men were great too. So it's not just that the women were fabulous. But, you know, we set an example and they just followed us.